Welcome to Christian Statesman. I'm your host, Zach Wagner, and this is episode 43, The Rise of China. The Biden administration has not been in power an entire week, and already the kowtowing to the Chinese Communist Party is beginning. If there ever was a major concern about the Biden family, as well as several other members of congressional leadership, it is the corrupt influence that Chinese money has on our internal political machine. And we may be seeing a moment in history where the CCP is expecting a return on their investment in purchasable American politicians and policy. How we miss the good old days when corruption meant getting kickbacks from the local construction company for obtaining the contract to build a new courthouse, or local officials took underground bribes to give a sanitation company long-term citywide contracts. At least in those days, the graft was restricted mainly to local power players, as reprehensible as that might have been. Today, the stakes are much higher. When the Biden administration reverses Trump's policies allowing China fully back into our energy industry, that is problematic. When China begins regular flights into Taiwanese airspace, that begins to raise international concerns over conflict. When we have Biden's nominee for Secretary of Defense, retired General Lloyd Austin, stating, "We may have to defund or disband the Army," then, when asked about the state of our national defense, replies, "We are looking into having China to rely on regarding national defense." Well, that's potentially catastrophic. This is not your grandfather's old-fashioned corruption. These are the leading indicators of allowing the most formidable enemy of the United States to take the upper hand in geopolitical control. One incident here or there may not be fatal, but the combination of what we are seeing in less than a week should have alarm bells ringing in the ears of our citizens and in the hallways of the Pentagon. If anyone has paid close attention to geopolitics, it is very clear what the objectives of the Chinese government are, and in fact have been for decades. They believe, as a 5,000-year-old empire with 1.3 billion citizens, that it is their destiny to dominate the world economically, militarily, and culturally. Anyone who says differently simply has no idea about the consequences at stake. China is a communist country. They are not an entity that believes in cooperation, fairness, or has any qualms about trampling human rights. Their objective is singular and focused. It is power, control, and domination at any cost. You cannot play nice with such a regime. If they are playing nice with us, it is only to eventually gain an upper hand, and when that superiority is achieved, it is lights out. China has slowly, with the help of nefarious international influences, bought and bribed their way deeply into U.S. infrastructure, both corporate and government. The Trump administration has been the first since Reagan to even attempt to check China's progress into the business of the United States. Those who would object to Trump's policies and maintain that such stances inhibited international cooperation operate under the false assumption that collaboration with a regime like China presupposes a mutually beneficial playing field. It does not. International governments, both friendly and adversarial to the United States, are watching these developments closely. They are much more realistic about what is at stake than the average American. They know the fallout associated with China's Belt and Road policies in weaker countries. They see the danger to us as well as themselves. Since our press barely broaches the issue of creeping Chinese influence on our institutions in a transparent manner, the American public remains largely uninformed. International dignitaries, however, are not nearly as naive. They know the threat is real and growing. And leaders on the international stage must prepare themselves if we fail. They know if China overtakes us, they will be forced to deal with aggressive Chinese economic and political incursions sooner rather than later, and numerous countries do not savor that eventuality. We need to take the weak and compromised status of the Biden administration seriously. Hunter Biden's laptop tells a story, and that story is no joke. It is a chapter in a larger volume of who gets to call the shots worldwide. That has been our privilege for nearly 80 years. If the Biden agenda rolls forth unchecked, our days of American exceptionalism may very well come to a close. And that would usher in a long, dark night for everyone else as well. We appreciate you joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends, and as always, have a blessed day.